Good morning! Good morning, everybody! Welcome to Unleashed Virtual Community Drama. So, guys, we are here every Thursday, and today is a really special day because this is our 17th week. I cannot believe we've been doing this for 17 weeks. So, guys, we're here. Normally, we meet at Endeavour House. It's a wonderful group of people. Normally, there's between 20 and 30 people who pitch up between 10:30 and 12 o'clock. And quite often, a lot of people, our group is made up of people who have perhaps been ex-homeless in the recovery community or just suffering from various different struggles. But, it's a wonderful, wonderful group. So if you're here for the first time, you're very, very welcome. And we've been doing this online for 17 weeks. I cannot believe it. But what is great this morning, which is different, is that it's not just me. I have been doing this, using bits of string and my foot and all the rest of it. But I actually have a helper today. So we are experimenting with something new today, which is OBS, which hopefully means that it will be slightly more slicker than it normally is. So I've got Brian in the room. Oh my gosh, social distancing, but Brian's here, on his computer. So hopefully, this is going to be quite technically skilled this morning. Really exciting. So we are carrying on with our monologue special. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we decided to do, we did a thing about duologues. So people wrote some fantastic stuff. And also, all the stuff is being recorded and, kept for posterity. Which means we're going to have loads of stuff for when we have our COVID celebration exit night. So that's the plan. So we've been doing monologues. And we were talking about Alan Bennett, because I don't know whether you've seen on the telly, they have filmed and done some new Alan Bennett talking heads. So we're talking about monologues, and we were talking last week about how monologues are the difference between a monologue and a soliloquy. So a soliloquy is where you're actually hearing an actor's thoughts, you're hearing the character's thoughts. A monologue is possibly where the actor will reach out and break out of the fourth wall and actually speak to the audience. So we've got a really good, we put the challenge out there, for people to write some monologues, and people have been doing some stuff. My goodness, have we got a treat for you this morning? We've got a jam-packed morning, but we're going to kick off with our first monologue. And I have to say, my goodness, Victoria Wood, Alan Bennett, eat your heart out, because we have the very talented Alexa Tewksbury, who has written this fantastic monologue. So we're going to kick off the morning, which is all about monologues, with this wonderful piece that Alexa has done. So over to you, Brian. Here it is.
I said to Bill, I'll see you in about half an hour then. He said, I am not walking that dog one more time, so stick that in your teapot and let it brew. I said, you'll have to. I've got the vicar phoning at 11 and I need to put the hoover round. Bill said, if you make me take that dog out one more time, it'll be the last thing I ever do in this house. I mean, it won't be, because we need a new bathroom and he won't have a plumber in. Not after what happened last time. Do you think this is the only choice I've got? He said. I'm not like you. I've got options. I'll have your porridge on the table for when you get back, I said. And he glared. You know your trouble, he said. You don't listen to a word I say. The dog, Eric, was a surprise from my brother for Christmas. He said to me and Bill, your present's in the back of the car. So we went out to have a look. And there he was, Eric, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, showed us his teeth. Well, showed Billy's teeth when he put his hand out to him. Bouncing about on the back seat he was. What was left of the back seat, which wasn't much. To be honest, that should have put us on our guard, but my brother seemed so pleased to be giving him to us. I said to my brother, but that's Eric, that's your dog, we can't deprive you of Eric. Oh, yes, you can, he said. Share and share alike, that's my motto. Anyway, the minute Eric ran into the house, he drove off, which was a shame because I'd put an extra Christmas pudding on to boil. You see, the real trouble started when Eric wouldn't allow guests into the lounge. Well, it's ever so awkward because we eat in there, you know, and the only way we can have people round for a meal is to eat in the bedroom, which is fine, really. It's a lovely bedroom, dusky pink, and the curtains and duvet cover match. Well, I'm a great one for coordination. And pink and mauve flowers on the wallpaper. Bill wasn't keen on petunias, but that's men for you. But actually eating in the bedroom does restrict us a bit in the sort of food we can have. I mean, you can't really have spaghetti bolognese when you're all perched on the bed. And roasts. Roasts aren't very easy either, and Bill does get so cross when he finds peas in the bed. I say to him, Bill, there's a lot worse things to find in your bed than peas. But he can't see it. I mean, I can understand it, really. They leave little green patches on his pyjamas, and he's ever so particular about that sort of thing. Lately, if anyone comes round, I don't cook, I just make sandwiches. Only Bill says you can't invite someone round for dinner and just give them sandwiches. I mean, if they want sandwiches, they can go to Marks and Sparks and buy their own, he says. We did try putting the table in the bedroom. It was a bit of a squeeze, but needs must. Only then the dog wouldn't let us go in there either. I think there must have been something about that table. So, what I'm getting round to is, I eventually spoke to this dog training lady, Miss Bickley, and she said to bring Eric along to classes. She asked if there were any particular difficulties, and I said, no, not really. He's a lovely dog. We're just having a few teething problems. His teeth are a problem. She asked, do you leave him on his own at home very much? I said, no. I mean, we have left him once. Well, it was ever so difficult. We had to go to one of Bill's exhibitions, Remarkable Ways with Driftwood. And to be fair, the whole carpet needed replacing anyway, and that telephone table was on its last legs, so to speak. Oh, yes, and he did manage to find his way under the settee and chew the bottom out, but we didn't even know until Bill sat on it. Anyway, we took Eric along to classes. We were a bit nervous to start with, but the other people were ever so nice. There was one man who put his hand out to Eric, but it turned out to be all right because Miss Bickley, as it happens, is a qualified first aider and never goes anywhere without a sponge bag full of bandages. Now, I think the most embarrassing moment came when that woman in the fur boots said Eric had taken an obvious dislike to her. I mean, fair enough, he did go for her, but I don't think it was her at all. I think it was those fur boots he didn't like, and it wasn't malicious. I said to her, it's probably all part of a learning curve. She didn't take a lot of notice. She was too busy trying to give the kiss of life to a dachshund. I've seen her once since, outside the town hall. Apparently her daughter's just had a baby. I could hear her telling everyone. All the sordid little details. Oh, her water's broken, the travel agent. That poster of New Guinea was awash. I said to her, I see you're still wearing your fur boots. She stopped talking and looked at me. If I were you, she said, I'd spend less time worrying about my fur boots and more time keeping an eye on your husband. I stopped going to dog training classes. I didn't take to that Miss Bickley. Ernestine. That's her first name. Ernestine Bickley. I don't know what her parents were thinking. Bill still goes. He doesn't take Eric. Eric's too much of a distraction, apparently. Bill says he goes anyway for the experience. He says it's stimulating, being around a woman like Ernestine who knows how to command an animal. Says it's surprising how much they have in common. And there are more classes than I realised. He's off there 3 nights a week and on a Saturday morning. I made his porridge, not long after he took Eric out this morning. It's on the table. I'll not move it. It's cold now, of course, but when he gets back I can pop it in the microwave. I'll not move it.
Now. Okay, so that was fantastic, wasn't it? Alexa, that is so clever. My goodness, that is so clever. We're going to carry on with some monologues later on when we come to our Throwback Thursday. We've got a really great Throwback Thursday today. But first of all, we just thought we'd get the morning kicked off with a specialist subject quiz. Now, every week we're having a different quizmeister. If you remember last week, Laura, oh my goodness, wasn't that brilliant? Well, today's quizmeister is Neil. So, guys, if you would like to have a go at being the quizmeister, just let me know. We're going to, share it around. A bit of fun. So, I'm going to hand you over to Neil for the quiz. So you need to have your pencil and paper. And today's quiz is another quirky theatrical quiz. So you can do it on your phone, perhaps do it in your head. If you've got a piece of paper, back of a fag packet, whatever, and then we'll see how you do. Right, over to Neil.
Hello. Now here we are with today's quiz. Now, first question. A theatrical superstition says it is unlucky to wish someone good luck before they go on stage. So which phrase is used instead? Got that? Now I'll say again. A theatrical superstition says it is unlucky to wish someone good luck before they go on stage. So which phrase is used instead? Got it? Okay? Right. Question 2. What is the name of Andrew Lloyd Webber's theatre company where Prince Edward worked as a production assistant in the 1980s? Did you get that? I'll say it again. What was the name of Andrew Lloyd Webber's theatre company where Prince Edward worked as a production assistant in the 1980s? Everyone happy? We'll go on to question 3. Which musical does the song Big Spender come from? And I'll say that again. Which musical does the song Big Spender come from? Question 4. On a stage, what name is given to the outer view areas on the side of the main performance area? Happy? Everyone got that? I'll say it again. On a stage, what name is given to the outer view areas on the side of the main performance area? Okay, now on to question 5. Now, which is the oldest West End theatre? I'll say again, which is the oldest West End theatre? Question 6. How many West End theatres are there? Say it again. How many West End theatres are there? Now on to question 7. What was the Criterion Theatre used for during World War II? Yes, again, what was the Criterion Theatre used for during World War II? On to question 8. What is the name of the 2 sisters who feature in Disney's Broadwalk musical Frozen? for those who didn't get that, what is the name of the two sisters featured in the Disney Broadway musical Frozen? Now on to question 9. What sporting event does the Sheffield Crucible Theatre host every year? And that again, what sporting event does the Crucible Theatre hold every year? Okay, everybody happy? Now last question, question 10. What mega musical recently streamed on the Disney TV channel? Sorry, I got that a bit muddled up, but I'll say it again. What mega musical recently streamed on the Disney TV channel? Now that's all 10 questions for you. A very good luck to you all. Now write down your answers.
You've got it. Yeah. Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. Good old Neil. This is good. We met down at Tor Abbey, and Neil, well done. Really good, mate. Really, really good. So let's whiz through these very, very quickly because we've got so much to get through today. So first question: the theatrical superstition says it's unlucky to wish someone good luck before they go on stage. So which phrase is used instead? Break a leg, which sadly we've had actually happen when we did Godspell with our lovely Anne. Okay, so break a leg. Okay, 1 point. Question 2. What was the name of Andrew Lloyd Webber's theatre company where Prince Edward worked as a production assistant in the 1980s? That was the Really Useful Theatre Company. Really Useful Theatre Company. Question 3. Which musical does the song Big Spender come from? That was the 1960s movie Sweet Charity. And the musical was Sweet Charity. Right, here's a nice easy one. On stage, what name is given to the out-of-view areas on the sides of the main performance area? And that, of course, is the wings. We're waiting in the wings, guys. Okay, so what is the oldest question 5. What is the oldest West End theatre in the West End? And that is the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. Okay, question 6. How many West End theatres are there? There are 39 West End theatres. Sadly, all quiet for the moment. Hopefully they'll be reopening soon. Question 7. What was the Criterion Theatre used for in World War II? It was a BBC radio studio. They used it as a BBC radio studio. In fact, actually, when we did our VE day the other day, I know Vera Lynn, she actually broadcasts from that studio. So nice easy one here. What is the name of the two sisters who featured in the Disney Broadway musical Frozen? Elsa and Anna. Okay, so question 9, nearly there. What sporting event does the Sheffield Crucible host every year? The World Snooker Championship. And the last one, what mega musical recently streamed on the Disney TV channel? And that was Hamilton, which I saw for the first time the other day. Oh my goodness. We did a couple of numbers from that last year in All the World's a Stage. What a fab musical. So guys, we are now going to move on because we have got, like I said, loads to do this morning. And our Throwback Thursday, oh my goodness, Throwback Thursday. This is just a great production. We did this back in 2013. So this was probably about a year, 18 months before we started doing Unleashed Community Drama. So this is Unleashed Theatre production, which we did at Buckfast Abbey for a week. And it was, oh my goodness, William Nicholson's Shadowlands. We did it 26th to the 31st of August back in 2013. And my goodness, this is a fantastic play. And the reason why we're focusing on today is because it's about the story of C.S. Lewis, who was a very famous writer, academic in Oxford. He's the guy who wrote all the Narnia books, Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, all of that. And he was great friends with J.R. Tolkien. They were in a little group called the Inklings together. And all these academics, you know, they used to share thoughts. And he was a committed Christian, but he wrote these wonderful Narnia books. He was when he was in his 50s, he met the poet Joy Davidson. And they just became friends. And when she got divorced, she moved over to England. And she married C.S. Lewis in a marriage of convenience, really, so that she'd get a green card to come and live here. And when they got married, then she got cancer. Then basically C.S. Lewis fell in love with her. And then she died. And it was a really, really tragic story, because he'd really learned, he really loved her very, very dearly. So it's a wonderful story. Really, really sad. And William Nicholson wrote the play initially as a TV play that went out in 1985, and it was so successful that it was then adapted and went, as a stage play. And it actually started down here in Plymouth in 1985. That's where it was first played, and then it went into the West End, and it became a classic. It was then made into a movie starring Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger in 1989, and it's a wonderful, wonderful play. We did it to celebrate the 50th anniversary of C.S. Lewis's death. So we did it to celebrate 50 years since he died. And Jude Earnshaw, she directed it. I played C.S. Lewis. Julie Smith, or Julie Sissons as she is now, she played Joy Davidson, and it was an absolute joy to do it. So the reason why we're including it today is because William Nicholson, there are quite a few really long monologues. When I was sort of reminiscing, look at this, that's the opening page. Are you having a laugh? I was pretty much on stage the whole time. Look at that, all those monologues. So much to learn, but such a fab play. So we are going to be looking back at that today. So what we did was, we thought it'd be quite fun to get the cast together. So we've done this twice now. We've done it with The Hiding Place. We've done it with Millennium Mysteries. So Julie Smith, bless her, Julie Sissons has moved down to Paul. We got her back in. Lovely Stuart, who's done quite a bit with us. Richard, of course, who's one of our trustees, bless him. We all got together and we had a good old chew on the fat about Shadowlands. So here we go. Have a look at this. Okay, guys, so here we are again with our third reunion of casts. We've done The Hiding Place, which was really fab. We've done Millennium Mistress, and now Shadowlands, 2003 at Buckfast Abbey. So, guys, can I say it's great to have you all back. Lovely to have you here, Stuart. Ben, of course, played Warnie, C.S. Lewis's brother. Julie, Joy, Richard, who we can't remember what your character was, but you were one of the academics.
Yes.
Margie, your part was written for you because it didn't exist, but you were like the sort of live-in housemaid. And of course, Jude, you directed the whole thing, which was fab. And of course, I played C.S. Lewis. So the whole point of this is just to go round and to have a little reminisce. So Stuart, let's start with you, mate. I mean, you've done quite a bit with Unleashed. What are your memories of Shadowlands and anything else?
Gosh, I think the thing that I remember most about Shadowlands was actually having to be quite unpleasant. I was a very jovial character on the surface, but incredibly insecure and jealous of Joy when she arrived. And actually, the character really didn't like Joy at all.
No.
And as I'm not I'm not that sort of person. I like people, and people tend to like me. So I found it actually quite a challenge to be able to put that emphasis of dislike and really trying to needle the character. That was really hard for me, but very rewarding. And it made it more difficult because I liked Julie anyway. So she's such a nice lady that it was actually difficult not to like her.
Mind you, Julie was very rude to you in that particular scene. That Christmas scene, which I think we're going to see, actually. We're going to actually see that scene, Stuart, which is great.
6 in one, half a dozen in the other. We were both unpleasant to each other. But,
We were.
I think she gave
I enjoyed it though,
bit
Stuart.
as good as she gave. I gave, yeah.
Yeah, no, well done. Well, really good.
It was
and let's go to you, Julie, because it's lovely to see you back, because obviously you've moved now down to Poole. So you've been in loads of Unleashed stuff. And so we really do miss you. You were one of our stalwarts, one of our pillars. And it was a fab role for you. Do you want to just you know, what can you remember about the whole thing of being in Shadowlands?
Well, Shadowlands was my first Unleashed production, believe it or not, back in 2013. And well, what a show. If you're going to join a company, then let's go in and do Shadowlands. I've got lots of amazing memories of the show. I mean, obviously, it's not a very, cheerful show. There was lots of humour in it, like with Stuart, and but despite that, I do remember the rehearsals being very jolly, and there was lots of laughter, even though it was a serious subject. I remember mostly it was a show of lots of props.
Oh!
I'm sure Margie will really, because she seemed to have most of them, bless her. And side stage, on one side, there wasn't a lot of room. And then I had these wooden crutches. And then that just all got very complicated, trying to get on and off without knocking something off or standing on somebody's toe. I felt like I was saying sorry in a hushed voice a great deal of the time. But I mean, Margie, I don't know how she managed all those props. It's just incredible. But it was so brilliant. It looked amazing from the front. And backstage, there was all these things that could break if you knocked them over. They weren't plastic. It was the real McCoy.
It was proper bone china in that restaurant.
It was, Jack, he had some fine crockery and glassware that, frankly, we didn't want to break. So I do remember that it was quite interesting side stage. I remember I was at the beginning of Act 2, it was in the hospital scene, so I was in that bed, and poor Naomi, she didn't have much room. We were behind the screen. So I was in the bed, so I was okay, but Naomi didn't have much room at all, and we had to be very quiet for the first bit while you were talking to the doctor, and she was sort of holding on, trying not to fall off the sort of apron bit at the front. It was all very cosy back there, but we managed it every night. So that's another fun memory, but it was a great show, and I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And Julie, you were brilliant in it. It was a fab show. I mean, it really was. Jude, do you want to, because Jude, you directed it. I mean, and it was your vision in terms of, the whole look. I mean, it really was very authentic. I mean, I remember that restaurant scene. I think we had about 12 tables full of extras.
Yeah, I was just looking for the photograph because that gives sort of a little bit of a glimpse of what it looked like.
Uncle Tom, Cobby and all were there.
And we brought in so many people for this scene, and it was great to be able to do that because it's such a serious story about love, but then pain and grief and loss. And so to be able to bring in just one little snapshot scene where there were lots of extra people, such a small cast, so we were able here to bring in extra people and just add a bit of interest and a little bit of glamour with the tables all done authentically and actual proper cakes to eat. I think we've got a photo of cake actually being served, and Naomi here doubled up beautifully as the waitress as well as the nurse, and here she is. So you'll probably recognise here our lovely Anna and her dad Andy, who were there, and all the stuff here that was served. And Julie's right. I mean, that was one of the things I remember, this sort of balancing act backstage of everything that had to be got on and then got off. And and it was nice to create that light moment in the middle of all this sort of heavy stuff that we were examining. And as Martin said at the beginning, and Margie, was wonderful because I so wanted Margie to be in this play. And there wasn't really a role. There's really only the character of Joy in terms of female actors needed. But we just thought, let's have a housekeeper for for the two brothers there. They need a good housekeeper. And so at every verse end, we were trying to get Margie on with the tray of tea. So there's never been more tea drunk on any production.
It was like Mrs. Overall was coming in every moment. More tea, C.S. Lewis.
More tea, more warning.
Yeah. I'll tell you what will cure your cancer, a nice cup of tea.
Yes.
Margie, what was your memory of it? Because the thing I remember was it was a very clever set, but it was on like 3 different stages, and that their house was tiny. It was like 8 foot by about 12 foot. And so everything was like a tiny little sofa, tiny little desk. And we were all like sort of squeezing around one another.
Was that me, did you say?
Yeah, Margie.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was great. It was lovely that the part was written in for me, and I loved doing it. But yes, it was something of a juggling act, carrying all these trays with teapots and cups and saucers and everything. The problem was, it was just little tiny wooden steps that you had to get up to the stage, carrying them on with not spilling it all, and endless trays of tea or drinks or whatever to get on and off. And I remember, yeah, there were lots of props. And I remember the one time when I was supposed to take this little buffet off to make room for something else to go there, otherwise it wouldn't work. And I got on there, and the guys were all just going to come up into there. I thought, I haven't taken the buffet off. So I had to get it off and pass it.
That was, Margie, that was the Christmas scene, which, Richard, you were in.
Oh.
When they have her first there for Christmas. Richard, what's your memory of that? Because you played one of the academics, and you look very debonair in your cap and gown and stuff. But, you know, you were... And I remember you had nice, really amazing sort of like 50s glasses. You really went to town.
Yes, that's right. I remember.
Do you remember?
Yeah, the biggest thing that sticks in my mind probably was when I ad-libbed one day and you were just about to make a big speech. And I nearly threw you, and you gave me a rollicking when I came off.
You were making
the first thing I'd ever done. It was a bit of a shock.
You were changing the plot, weren't you?
Yes.
Picking it up as you go along.
Yeah, of course.
I think that was
I remember you looked brilliant.
Yeah, that was a bit of mine, wasn't it? The fact that not all of it was written in. It was, well, what would you think you'd say there? So, oh yeah, well, I'll just say something.
Yeah, I think it was just that Martin was going to be in a big speech, and I nearly threw him. I think. So
oh my God! Well, I dug out my script, and I think I was on stage pretty much every single scene.
Yeah,
you were.
Yeah.
And like, you know, that was the first page, which was like the whole monologue. Where
that's right.
Does I mean, it was fantastic. I loved it. Ben, where are you, Ben? Have you disappeared?
There he is.
Ben, you played my brother Warnie. And,
I did, yeah. I've still got the script here.
Yeah, wasn't it fun? I mean, it was such a lovely relationship they had, the way it was written.
Yeah, fantastic fun. I remember playing chess with some young lad as well.
James.
Yeah.
Who'd been in Children of Eden.
Yeah. Anyway, the worst bit of Shadowlands was me and you at the front of the stage, where some really important set of lines with a new, and I absolutely fluffed it. I had no idea what I was supposed to say, and you bailed me out in a very professional way. I was really, really impressed. And I've always gone back to that and thinking, Martin Harris, that is an actor.
Well, maybe you were meant to be drunk, actually, then, as your character of Warnie. So, you know, it just made it look all the more authentic, I think.
That was it. That's the bit where I light up a cigarette and take my drunk brother home. You know.
That's right. Yeah. So that was a different role for you, Ben, wasn't it? Playing a drunk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A difficult role in some respects, though. You know me.
No, you were Ben. You were really brilliant in the role. You know, I think we're going to show the bit where you come on near the end and you try and get him to sort of talk to Douglas. You know, and you were just fab. You know, and I think that the hardest thing about it is there's quite a few scenes where you're just sat there reading the paper, not doing anything. They're the hardest scenes. You know, where people are acting around you and you've got to try and keep in character where you actually haven't got a lot to say. You know, you did have a lot to say, but there were quite a few scenes where you were in the scene. Yes. You didn't have anything to say. And that's, you were amazing. You were really good, really good.
On props, you may remember that we put the tables up for sale at the end of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I've been repainting them again recently. They have pride of place in our garden.
Excellent.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that is good.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Well, I've got the lucky tank top, which I wore in this, and I've worn in that Agatha Christie that we did for Bijou, Julie. Do you remember one summer?
Gosh, yes.
Yes, and I wore it, I think, in Crazy for You, and I've worn it in, oh my gosh, so many plays. And I think, you know, Calvin's worn it. And then it was in The Hiding Place. I think, Stuart, you wore it in The Hiding Place. But it is an authentic 1940s tank top, which my grandma knitted for my dad when he was a lad.
Wow.
And then I have also this, which, Jude, you very kindly presented to me at the end, which is the actual newspaper. He starts off by talking about where this bus mows down 23 cadets aged 10 to 15. And then he talks about, you know, where is God when it hurt? Mm-hmm. This is actually 1951, you know, with a letter of authenticity to say, you know, this is actually the bus that ran it down. I was so chuffed, and I really treasure this. Fantastic.
Yeah. That's one of the great props.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, amazing.
the authentic newspaper.
Yeah. The other thing that I do remember, which I think will make our production probably unique, is the dancing chew move.
Yes.
Which I thought was fantastic, but you know, like that bloke who was topless at the beginning of Act 2, prancing around with a couple of girls. Do you remember that?
Yes.
I mean, it did add something so different to our production.
That is something.
Yeah. So you need to watch the whole thing to see.
I think Richard Lambert, bless him, he added some effects that looked like sort of something medical, you know, over them, like sort of cells, you know, doing something awful. I mean, it was really good. I mean, I have to say, Brian has dug out, I don't know where it came from, the whole recording, and I tell you, Jude, it is really fab. I looked at it and I was moved myself, and it was flipping me acting. I thought, this is good.
Oh, happy memories, Harry.
They really were happy memories.
Team. Such a fantastic team. That's what made it so special, you know, and continues to make Unleashed Productions special, because it's just such a great crowd of people to be working with.
It was. And I remember also, if you remember, like we did with Cross and Switchblade, we had on the Friday night a Q&A, you know, all about, you know, where is God when it hurts, you know, and about suffering. So, I mean, I think that's what Unleashed are really good at, you know, bringing together the message and then, you know, sending people out to really think about what it was all about. I mean, it is such a fantastic play.
It is. One of the lines I remember is a line that C.S. Lewis delivers to Professor Riley, actually, and he says, "Beware solipsism." Do you remember that? And, you know, because Professor Riley was being quite sarcastic and...
that was you all the way, Stuart.
Why you picked me for that role?
Carry on, Jude.
You did it very well anyway, but there were such contrasting characters, and just C.S. Lewis saying, look, just because it's not happened to you, don't think that there's nothing to this. And I think that's a great line, really, in the play. Yeah, and I remember at the beginning of Act 1, C.S. Lewis does this really long speech about, you know, suffering, and it's quite academic, really. And then what's so clever about William Nicholson's script is that beginning of Act 2, when he's actually paired up with Joy Davidson and she's got cancer, he does another monologue, but it's completely different in tone, and you just see how he changes completely, so that by the end he's gone from this like crusty academic. And I think there's that scene, Judy, when you come out of hospital, when your character comes out of hospital, and he says, you know, I've only come alive since I met you, because he fell in love. You know, it's so lovely. It was such It is, because the play opens with him talking about love, but just in sort of academic terms, just in theory. Yeah. But by the end of the play, he has a completely different understanding of what he's talking about, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And so it has such a strong message.
Yeah.
I think for me as well, all of the play, and you know, however many times you watched rehearsals, every time. That last scene with you and Douglas, Julie's son, when you were crying because Julie had died, that I cried every night at that.
Yeah.
No, I'd seen it. It was so moving.
Margie,
And the way that you and James did it was just so brilliant. So there were the amusing moments, but there was those moments as well that made me cry, and I'd seen it hundreds of times nearly.
Yeah.
So it was great. The acting was great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was. The funny thing about that was little James, bless him. He was in my drama club at Collerton, and he played loads of leads and stuff. He was in Mary Poppins and I don't know, Ugly Duckling and stuff like that. So we dragged him in for Children of Eden, where I think he played Abel opposite Jacob Yarrell, and he was a really good little actor. So we got him involved with Shadowlands, and it was actually quite a grueling part for little kids. You know, it's a really difficult play dealing with really difficult issues, and my goodness, did he do a good job. Then I got a job at the Boys Grammar, and this kid comes up to me, and it's flipping James. And he changed so much. He was like a young man. He's like 17. He said, James, oh my goodness. You know, so funny, so funny. But yeah, it was really good. Well, listen, guys, any other anecdotes you want to share before we move on?
Oh, so many, actually.
Well, guys, can I just say thank you so much. It is really fab that we've got a full recording of it, and the plan is we're going to stick it up on our new website. Brian Morrison, bless him, is doing a new website which will have the whole of What's So Amazing About Grace, the whole of Shadowlands, the whole of Into the Light.
Oh gosh,
you'll be able to watch. Will be fab. So you know, guys, thank you so much. It's so lovely to see you all, particularly you, Julie. You know, we haven't seen you since I think Under One Roof was the last thing you did for us, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, busy. Life's been busy.
Well, listen, mate, What's So Amazing About Grace next June at the Little Theatre. So if you're interested, lots of parts. Ben, Richard, obviously Margie, Jude. Judy, can you not come back for that?
I'm in the car. I'm on my way. I miss you guys. I really miss you all.
It's not till June. No, guys, thank you so much. Listen, lovely memories. Lovely memories. I mean, that's the great thing. Every time you're in a show, you build up a little family, don't you? And those memories stay with you forever. And I have to say, Shadowlands, Jude, I have to thank you. It was such a wonderful experience. It was so happy, such a happy show. And you did such an amazing job with it. So well done. So thank you, everyone. Brilliant. Cheers. So better say goodbye.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Being kind to the poor and the needy, then naturally nobody listens.
Aha, the arch communicator in action. Give us the sales pitch, Jack.
Virgin has sex with omnipotent alien. It's birth to God.
I've always thought that the incarnation showed that God has a very limited intellect. I mean, who voluntarily becomes human when you have the option of becoming remaining safely divine?
Well, think about the magic, though, Christopher. It's the coming of a helpless, squealing creature who is also God. It's an all-powerful baby. I'm sure that satisfies your taste in the peculiar. You know, it's the coming of new life in the heart of winter when all the world is dead. Snow falls, the trees are bare, all but one tree bears fruit. I mean, that's the magic.
Think you're a little hard on the board, needy Jack. No room at the inn, remember?
Ah, Jack's invited them to stay with us.
Oh, really?
Mother and child, they're upstairs.
Oh, what mother and what?
Mrs. Gresham and her son are spending Christmas with us.
Oh, well, you have managed to surprise me, Jack. And who is Mrs. Gresham?
Wait and see.
She's an American.
Oh, I know, yes, sir, I'm curious, sir.
Merry Christmas.
Joy. Let me introduce you. This is Dr. Maurice Oakley. This is Reverend Harry Harrington. And this is Christopher Wright.
Delighted to meet you, Mrs. Gresham. Mrs. Gresham, how opportune. They tell me you're from the United States of America.
Yes, I am.
Then perhaps you can satisfy my curiosity on a small matter. Jack's children's stories, they tell me, are published in America. Are they or are they not in translation?
I don't understand.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Clothes Closet?
Behave yourself, Christopher.
Oh, forgive me, Jack. The success breeds envy, as ever.
I don't know what you mean by success. All my friends think that my children's writing is some form of juvenile dementia.
Have you read any of them, Professor Riley?
Jack has read extracts of them to me. It's one of his tests of friendship.
He's been reading these of Philip Sidney.
Is that more bearable?
Bearable? Sidney's glorious.
He is, isn't he?
He has this inspired image of desire, capital D, as a baby that won't stop bawling. Sleep, baby mine, desire, nurse, beauty singeth.
By cries, oh baby, they set mine head naked. Good old Sidney, he's very down on desire.
Babies just yell when they get what they want. I mean, that's what I love about the image. It's precise. Nowadays, poets are so lazy.
You're just like me, Joy. She's dragging me, kicking and screaming into the 20th century.
I'd be force-feeding Jack T.S. Eliot. But even Eliot can be lazy. When the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. I mean, what kind of an image is that? He could just as easily have said like a cocktail sausage upon the tray.
Congratulations, Jack. You seem to have found a soulmate.
I didn't think you believed we had souls, Christopher.
Well, now, you see, I consider the soul an essentially feminine accessory, anima, quite different from the male variant, animus, which is how I distinguish between the gendered sexes, where men have intellect and women have soul.
Professor Riley, as you know, I am an American, and different cultures have different modes of discourse. I need a little guidance here. Are you being offensive or really
Serves you right, Christopher.
I feel like calling for police protection. Where on earth did you find her? Tell me, Mrs. Gresham, how did you find England?
cold, dull?
How very perceptive, how original.
And I don't much care for the weather either. Will you excuse me, Reverend Harrington? Dr. Oakley? Professor Riley, it has been my pleasure. Excuse me, Jack.
Yes, thanks for the drink, Jack. I must be off.
Happy Christmas, Harry.
Bye, Harry.
Jack, she's simply ghastly. You must get rid of her.
Just because she bit you back.
Oh, goodness, I don't mind that. You must, she's got her hooks into you. You must see that.
Christopher, she's a committed Christian. And she's also a married woman. And as much as that won't warm the cockles of your heathen heart, it does mean that she's very unlikely to have adulterous designs.
Never send to know for whom the wedding bell tolls, Jack.
Look at you getting all worked up. She's harmless. And anyway, she sails back to New York after Christmas.
Beware Christmas, Jack. I mean, look what happened to Scrooge.
Absolutely. Happy Christmas to you, Christopher.
Easy to say, Jack. Easy to say. Well, I think I must be getting on.
It's good to see you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. I'll see you, man. About miracles.
Why not? It's a miracle to me.
Miracles frighten me.
Take it when it's offered, I say.
Frightened of loving God too much for giving you back to me. That way I could just as easily hate him later.
Don't be so hard on yourself, Jack. Thank God now, and let later come later.
Anyway, it's not such a big miracle after all, you coming back to life.
What's wrong with it? You leave my miracle alone.
You were alive before, I wasn't.
What are you talking about?
I started living, and I started loving you too. That makes me just a few months old.
Could be a short life, Jack.
This is a life.
Hey, so my goodness, it's good watching that. I mean, my goodness, it was such a surprise to me that digging up this archive that had the whole show filmed. Now, the reason why we are focusing on this is because there is, in fact, several monologues in William Nicholson's play. And we were talking about how a playwright can use a monologue to real dramatic effect. And in Shadowlands, there are, like I said, there are about 3 different types. So when it starts out, when the show opens, C.S. Lewis is actually addressing a crowd. It's almost like he's preaching to a group of people. So he's doing this long 2-page monologue, which, you know, is all talking about love and the nature of love and God and stuff like that. And so that's the first type of monologue, where he's actually, it's like us seeing C.S. Lewis in a public meeting, and he's actually addressing the crowd, and so the audience are like the crowd. The next type is when Joy Davison comes and she starts talking about her marriage breakup. And the way in which we staged it was that she stepped out away from C.S. Lewis and she started talking and explaining what was going on and how her husband's been unfaithful. And it was almost like we were hearing her thoughts as well. So not only was she relaying to C.S. Lewis, you know, the state of her marriage, but she was also, you could see her internal conflict going on in her head. And then right at the very end, which we're actually going to see now, is the bit which is absolutely heartrending. And to be fair, when I watched it this week, having not seen it for like 8 years, I couldn't believe how moving it is. It's where basically C.S. Lewis he has to talk to little Douglas, and obviously his wife's just died of cancer, and it's Douglas's mother, and he's so sort of awkward. He can't really talk to the little lad, and he's encouraged by his brother Warney to do so. And then he gets up, and he just basically, the audience hear his it's a soliloquy. They hear his thoughts. They hear his thoughts that are going through his mind about his loss, about how he's feeling, and it's completely heartbreaking. So we're going to watch that now. So
What about Douglas?
Well, your grief's your own business. And I guess you feel life's the mess, and maybe life is the mess. But he's just a boy.
What do you want me to do? I don't know what to say.
Jack, just talk to him.
My mother died when I was your age. It's cancer too. I remember thinking that if I believed she'd get better and prayed hard enough, she wouldn't die. She did.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
I don't care.
I do. When I'm alone, I cry. Do you cry?
No.
I loved your mother very much. I loved her too much. She knew that. She said it would be worse later. It's not fair, is it? If you want the happiness, you have to have the pain.
Don't see why she had to get sick.
Nor me. You have to let it go. Can't hold on to it.
Jack,
Yes?
do you believe in heaven?
Yes?
I don't believe in heaven.
It's okay.
I sure would like to see her again.
Me too. Like blocks of stone, of which the sculptor carves the forms of men. Blows with his chisel, which hurts so much, will make us perfect. The shadows, this darkness and silence, and pain that cries like a child. So it ends like all affairs of the heart. Exhaustion. Only so much pain as possible. And then rest. So it comes that when I am quiet, when I'm quiet, she returns to me in my mind, in my memory. Comes close to me. And I love her again, as I did then, even though I know I will be hurt again. I will lose her again. So it is that Jack Lewis. There's no answer to the question except this. I was given choice twice in my life. The child who chose safety. The man who chooses suffering. went to my wardrobe this morning. I took my old brown coat, what I used to wear before. Then I realised that we had one of your versions. I think it was when we came back from Greece. Can live with the pain after all. Pain now. It's part of the happiness then. That's the deal. Only shadows, Jordan. Only shadows.
Okay, guys, so what we're going to do now is something we're doing every now and then, and we are going to be having the Unleashed Wellbeing Corner, okay? We've done this several times. We did it during the Mental Health Week, and we did it for the VE Day when we talked about forgiveness. And it's great to have Roz here. Roz is a very familiar face to all of you guys at Unleashed. She co-directed Cross and Switchblade, very involved with Millennium Mysteries, has done loads, you know, over the years. She's on our action team. She and Brian, they do masses in the background that people don't know about. But the great thing about this is that also she was, in another life, a professional counsellor. So it's a win-win situation for us at Unleashed, because we've got Roz here, and we're going to be talking about loss. Obviously, we've been talking about monologues, being on your own. And we've specifically been looking at Shadowlands today, which is such a sad play. We've been talking about it already, but it's basically about loss. And it's about how C.S. Lewis, losing his wife, it completely threw him. And he wrote these two very different books, you know, The Problem with Pain and The Grief Observed. So we thought it'd be really good, Roz, to have you here, because just really conscious that during lockdown, loss can take many forms. It can take the form of what we've been talking about, bereavements, but it can also be the loss of other things. And that can have a massive effect on our well-being. Do you just want to sort of elucidate on that?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. I've been thinking about it myself this week, and I was thinking about grief, and most people think immediately grief means death. But actually we grieve lots of things, and in terms of loss, people will have been losing lots of things over lockdown. I mean, it's that whole thing of loss of company, of being isolated. It's the loss of contact with friends and family, and just going out and meeting new people. The drama club, we've lost that in terms of immediate contact, and also loss of opportunity. Things that people were maybe looking forward to doing that they haven't done. Relationships that they may have started which haven't been able to be continued as easily or formed. And I guess, just loss of 4 months, 3 or 4 months of this year, loss of some of the summer. Even if we've been able to go out a little bit, we've been fairly confined in what we can do. So I was giving that some thought and thinking, it's amazing really, humans are so varied in their human emotions. And how does that express itself in loss? Of course, initially when people experience loss, they may not recognise it as such. I mean, being shut in for the number of weeks that we have been in lockdown, we may not have thought of all the losses that we were experiencing until maybe now, when we're starting to emerge a bit, and we look back and we think, oh golly, I could have done this, I could have done that. Some people, of course, have lost jobs, and some people who might have been looking to get a job may have lost that opportunity because that is no longer an available thing for them. So how do we deal with it? And of course, emotionally, first of all, it's quite often denial. I mean, when COVID came in and it said, look, hey guys, we've got to stay home, this can kill you. Our first reaction probably was to feel very vulnerable and a bit afraid, or just a bit fed up. Actually, I've got to stay home. But then came the sorrow of loss and the sadness. I mean, those of us who have, I mean, I'm in the grandparent stage of life, can't see my grandchildren, can't see my children, and other people's losses of their relationships. All those things make us sorrowful and sometimes very frustrated and angry. And how we express that can come out in all sorts of ways, quite often in tears. I think we talked about that the other week when I said sometimes I woke up and I was crying and I didn't really know why.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, well, it was my way of expressing something I couldn't speak in words. And sometimes there are those things. So, and of course, the biggie that everyone's worried about now is depression.
Yeah.
And I mean, depression is a terribly sapping experience. And mostly it takes the form of going quiet, feeling confused, feeling a bit foggy in the brain, can't think, or don't want to do much. So there's lots of ways that people do experience loss and grief, and that comes into the grief of death as well. So yeah, all those things are there.
No, that's really good, Ros. And I think what you said about tears is really important because, like we've said before, actually, denial is not a good thing. Denial is not a healthy thing, and actually, it's really good to be able to express how you feel. And if that means actually being able to get it out there and cry, you know, I'm a very emotional person. My emotions are very clear to everybody. I wear my heart on my sleeve. But, you know, I actually think it's a really good thing, particularly for blokes, to be able to express how they feel with tears. I don't think there's anything wrong with expressing how you feel with tears. I think actually it's better out than in. So I think that's a really, really good point.
Yeah. I think the other thing is then, of course, we've all been there now. It would be interesting to know from the folks who watch how they have helped themselves, what things they've done in a coping way. So that would actually be quite useful, wouldn't it, to hear how other people have been doing that. But in terms, carry on.
No, carry on. I was going to say, I mean, obviously one of the obvious things is that, you know, particularly people who struggle with an addictive personality, I think one of the hardest things is that it's very easy, and I think we said this before, that actually in lockdown, when there's no one there, you know, you can either comfort eat or drink too much or, you know, use whatever. And that's not great, you know, because actually there's nobody to stop you, or, you know, you're in a situation where you're perhaps not surrounded by the support that you would normally get that would stop you doing that. And that's not great. So, so Ros, what would you say were good alternatives if people are feeling like that?
Yeah. Well, the first thing to say is that not one size doesn't fit all. Everybody has their own mechanisms, but basically there's distraction, there's soothing, and there's balance. Now, distraction doesn't mean pretending it's not there, as we've just said. We need to acknowledge the feelings, and sometimes we need to express those feelings in a safe way. But, you know, thinking of body, mind, and spirit, if you're in your body, not drinking too much, not eating too much, are obvious things to avoid if you can, but to put in their place something else, like walking, running, exercise, and any sort. I mean, for me, you know, standing at the bottom of the stairs and doing step-ups on the bottom of the staircase, you don't need a gym.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen bean cans. You know, there's all sorts of fun ways of doing that.
Yeah.
And loads of suggestions on TV. In terms of mind, there's music. I mean, I'm a musical. You're a musical person. I was listening to John Denver this morning. I love John Denver, and I was listening to John Denver this morning, and it just made me feel relaxed. I thought, oh gosh, I need to listen to him more again because he really helps me. Not everybody's cup of tea. Artwork, painting, scribbling, drawing, colouring books, anything, artwork of any kind, knitting, sewing, paper mache, modelling, all those sorts of creative stuff. And of course, perfectly for this programme, writing and acting and exchanging those ideas over this programme, which is brilliant. And in terms of spirit, mindfulness, prayer,
Yeah.
Tai Chi, yoga,
Yeah.
any of those things Pilates, any of those things that bring a different pace, bring a calmness, as something that's soothing. And of course, balance is making sure you do a bit of everything and not one thing obsessively until it becomes a distraction.
Yeah, no, totally.
And unhealthy.
Yeah, no, totally. That's really helpful. But what would you say, particularly with regard to bereavement? Because we've been talking specifically about that. And obviously the play is about bereavement. And, you know, there are possibly people watching who've lost relatives to COVID. You know, we've got a lot of people who are really struggling. You know, it was wonderful to see the choir. I don't know whether you saw the Gareth Malone programme the other day. I work at Old Way, and the headmistress, that chap was her husband who wrote the song, lives in Newton Abbot, lost his father. Absolutely tragic, but the way in which, you know, he'd been able to express it by using music. What would you say were the key things for, you know, if someone's initially lost, you know, someone they love, how to cope? What are natural reactions to expect?
Sure. I think the first thing is not to avoid it, but to acknowledge how you feel. Sometimes you will feel angry, sometimes you'll feel utterly sad, and sometimes you'll be taken by surprise by a piece of music, the smell of cooking, something that jogs a memory. Any of those things, don't beat yourself up. If it takes you by surprise, acknowledge it and just go to the memory and say, yeah, that was a wonderful time with that person. Enjoy the memory and don't feel guilty about the memory. And don't be afraid to talk to other people. I know one of the greatest things is that sometimes when folks have lost someone, I had a friend here the other day talking about her husband who had died and just saying, oh, he didn't like to do so and so. And I'd say, oh, yes, I remember that. And we would talk about the person who died and relive the memory together.
Yeah.
So sharing memory, but also, you know, finally, and not utterly, but acceptance, accepting the understanding that there's good memories, there's upsetting memories. It's okay to have those feelings, and taking care of yourself through the things we've just talked about, but also looking forward and thinking, okay, if that person was here, what would they be saying to me now?
Yeah.
You know, they'd probably be saying, if it's someone close to you, something encouraging, like, well done, or you're so good at that, you've always been good at that.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to hold that memory in a safe but a helpful place.
Yeah.
And not to be afraid of the emotions. And often there's maybe one or two people you know really well that you can just phone up and say, I'm feeling wretched, or can we go for a walk, or do you remember when?
I lost my mum. I lost my mum a year ago. I mean, literally the anniversary was last weekend. And the thing that I really surprised me, weirdly, is that during lockdown, I just felt it so much more keenly. You know, where I was thinking I was doing quite well, the last 2 months have been really hard leading up to the anniversary. And, you know, my wife, she's incredibly supportive and she's very understanding, and she, you know, she knows me better than anyone else. So she's brilliant. But it really took me by surprise that even though it was a year on, how the emotions were so raw leading up to that anniversary, and how in the last couple of months, I just, you know, it was almost like it just happened. It's a weird thing, grief, but I would say, you know, having people around you, perhaps sharing it with others who feel the same, you know, if you've got siblings, that's a massive help. Being articulate, and I think also doing symbolic stuff, you know, like planting flowers, you know, when you said about things that prompt memories, you know, flowers and times of the seasons. Like my mother loved that song, We'll Gather Lilacs. We sang it at her, you know, her funeral. Ivan Novello, that was their sort of
father's funeral.
Courting song. And so when they come out, it's like, and all the hydrangeas coming out, it just brought it all back, you know, because we had them at her funeral. But, you know, I think the important thing is to remember that actually a death and loss is part of life. And, you know, it's the inevitable, isn't it? So we've all got to face it. And
I think that's acceptance, isn't it? Finding its place for life and embracing the good parts of your life that's affected, and saying, yes, that is part of my life, and now I must journey on.
Yeah.
And of course, in C.S. Lewis's play Shadowlands, he believes there is definitely something beyond.
Yeah.
So he has a hope there, which sustains him as well.
Yeah, fantastic play. And both those books, really interesting how differently they read. One's very academic, one's very emotional, because he'd had the second book he wrote, he'd been there, he'd experienced the grief observed. Ros, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I think this little well-being corner, I think really great thing. We're not going to do it every week, but every now and then when it fits, I think it's fab. So, Ros, thanks so much.
The main message is take care of yourselves. Be kind. Be kind to yourselves.
Be kind to yourselves. Yeah, bless you.
Yeah.
Ros, we'll see you again, but thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, well, here we are with Mark. Every week, Poets Corner. I tell you, Mark, I love this part of the drama club. And I tell you, people love your poem.
Yeah, and to inspire other people to do a bit of writing as well, mate.
Yeah.
Brilliant, spot on, absolutely, loving it.
No, seriously, it's fab what you've written. And other people have written some stuff, but every week having you inspire us all with your great poems, it's really fab. So, Mark, tell us about one you got for us this week, mate.
Right, well, this one, I mean, it occurred to me that maybe this virus has been here before, you see. You never know these things. So what I've done is I've taken a slightly historical aspect of proceedings, and the poem is called A Viral Conundrum, subtitled, Even My Mask Was Made in China. Okay, so here we go. Right, boys and girls. Has this virus been here before? It's a question I have to ask. Events in history may be the key. Dick Turpin wore a mask. When holding up a stagecoach, its occupants would quiver. But with social distancing, how could they stand and deliver? If everyone was wearing masks, things could be a mess. It would certainly be confusing for his trusty steed called Bess. When he got back to the inn, despite his undoubted fame, after he'd had a couple of drinks, would he give his real name? If he did, problems may arise because of this app for tracking. One word in the wrong direction and the hangman would get cracking. So err on the side of caution. Get yourself tested, Dick. No need for self-isolation, and you won't even feel a prick. Thank you. All right.
Oh, Mark, I love it. I was thinking we haven't had any carry-on innuendos until the very last line.
Well, do you want another poem while I'm here?
Yeah.
Do you another?
Yeah.
Have you got time?
Two for the price of one, Mark. Yeah.
Here we go. While I'm actually live and you can see me, I'll take advantage of this. Now, this is one I wrote a little while ago. It's about my garden, and I've called it Green Fingers, and I've subtitled the poem, Give It the Snip. Okay, and it goes like this. I've been at home some time now, watching my garden grow. It's time to get my loppers out, my trowel and my hoe. I could sit and procrastinate. I could even have a moan. I'll have a chat with Norman. He's my garden gnome. My neighbour's garden is pristine, with a manicured hedgerow. Mine needs some attention. It looks just like a meadow. My herbaceous borders are bushy. My privets all awry. My hardy perennials are really huge. At this point, I could cry. Diligence and fortitude are the order of the day. I'm going to roll my sleeves up and delve into the fray. Take it step by step, I say. Is there really any rush? Once I've dealt with all this, there's the issue with my bush. Thank you. There you go, son. Done and dusted.
Mark, they're great. He's so clever. And Alexa, that monologue, so brilliant, really so brilliant. So guys, we're going to carry on next week. We're going to have another week with a monologue. So you can, if you want to send in a monologue, really would like you, I know some of you are probably watching this afterwards, do write a monologue, and you can film it like Alexa did, or send it to us, and we can sort it out with Zoom. But it's been very good this morning. I hope you've enjoyed it. There will be news about when we can start meeting together. It's not going to be far off until we can all see each other face to face. So I hope you enjoyed this morning. It's been quite thought-provoking. If you have been affected by anything in this program, please do ring us. If you're struggling at any time, you guys in the club, ring myself, ring Calvin, Margie, Josie. We're here for you. Look at that, nearly 12 o'clock. Bang on! So hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next week. Take care.